Long before European explorers set sail in search of new worlds, the vast waters of the Indian Ocean and beyond were already being traversed by a civilization with ambitions that reached far across the horizon. In the early 15th century, China, under the Ming Dynasty, launched a maritime endeavor that would become legendary in both scale and vision. At the heart of this grand enterprise was the Chinese admiral Zheng He, a man whose name would echo through history. He commanded a fleet so immense that it dwarfed the combined navies of Europe at the time. While European ships were just beginning to test the limits of the Atlantic, Zheng He's armada was already a floating city, a symbol of China's technological and organizational superiority. The centerpiece of this fleet was the treasure ship, an engineering marvel over 400 feet long, towering above the waves. Each of these ships could carry more than 1,000 men, including sailors, soldiers, diplomats, and skilled craftsmen. To put this in perspective, Columbus's Santa Maria was less than a quarter of the size, highlighting the sheer ambition of the Ming voyages. But these expeditions were more than just displays of naval might. They were carefully orchestrated missions, sanctioned by the Ming Emperor himself, to project power, foster international relations, and establish China as a central force in global affairs. The ceremonial departures from the imperial court were grand affairs, filled with symbolism and hope for peaceful connections. The fleet itself was a floating metropolis with hundreds of vessels and tens of thousands of crew members. Each ship had a specific role, from supply ships and war junks to the mighty treasure ships. Together, they formed a moving testament to Chinese maritime prowess, organization, and the ability to sustain long journeys across unpredictable seas. These voyages, which began in 1405, were not spontaneous adventures but meticulously planned undertakings. The Ming navigators used advanced maps, compasses, and star charts, demonstrating a level of technological sophistication that was unmatched at the time. Shipbuilders and planners worked tirelessly to ensure every detail was accounted for, from hull design to provisions for the crew. What set Zheng He's fleet apart was its remarkable self-sufficiency. On board, there were not only sailors and soldiers, but also livestock, fresh water, and even gardens growing vegetables and herbs. This allowed the fleet to remain at sea for months at a time, reaching distant shores as far as the coast of Africa, and returning with exotic goods, animals, and stories of faraway lands. The story of Zheng He and his extraordinary fleet challenges the traditional narratives of exploration. It reveals a chapter of adventure and discovery that was written not with conquest, but with diplomacy, trade, and a vision of peaceful engagement. Zheng He's voyages remind us that the spirit of exploration can be as much about building bridges as it is about seeking new lands. For ancient mariners, the night sky was more than just a beautiful backdrop. It was a living, breathing map, stretching endlessly above the waves. Long before the invention of GPS or even the magnetic compass, sailors relied on the stars to guide their journeys across vast, uncharted oceans. Each constellation, each bright point of light, held secrets and stories passed down through generations, forming a celestial language that only the most skilled navigators could truly read. Tools like the clock and compass would eventually revolutionize navigation, but for centuries it was the stars that offered the most reliable guidance. Mariners learned to read the heavens with remarkable precision, using nothing but their eyes, their memory, and simple instruments. Zheng He's sailors, for example, became masters of celestial navigation. On their epic voyages across the Indian Ocean, they used the stars to plot courses that spanned thousands of miles, venturing into unknown waters with confidence and skill. Their knowledge of the night sky was both practical and profound, blending science with tradition. The North Star, Polaris, was a key anchor in the Northern Hemisphere. Its steady position above the horizon made it an invaluable reference point for determining direction and latitude. Sailors would search for Polaris on clear nights, knowing that as long as it shone above them, they could find their way north. As they sailed south, the familiar constellations faded, replaced by new patterns like the Southern Cross. Navigators learned to adapt using these southern stars and other constellations to orient themselves in unfamiliar waters, expanding their knowledge with every journey. This skill demonstrated a sophisticated understanding of astronomy, mathematics, and observation. Ancient sailors became astronomers in their own right, charting the movement of stars and planets, and recording their findings in logbooks and oral traditions. The cross staff was their primary tool, a simple yet ingenious device for measuring the altitude of stars above the horizon. By aligning the crosspiece with a star and the horizon, sailors could calculate their latitude with surprising accuracy, even in the middle of the open sea. By carefully tracking these measurements night after night, navigators could plot their position and chart courses across vast distances. This method required discipline, patience, and a deep respect for the natural world. This reliance on stars was more than just a technique. It was a profound connection between sailors and the cosmos. Each night, as they gazed upward, they became part of a timeless tradition, guided by the same stars that had led countless explorers before them. It required patience, meticulous record-keeping, and an unwavering trust in the universe's rhythms. Every observation, every note in the logbook was a testament to their dedication and curiosity. In the end, it was the stars that guided them to new lands and safely home again, lighting the way for generations of explorers and shaping the course of human history. The knowledge from these voyages was recorded in the Zheng He Hanghai II. These charts were instructional route maps, detailing courses and star altitudes. They translated the night sky into a practical guide for sailors. A typical entry instructed navigators on compass bearings and star measurements. This systematic approach was far ahead of its time. Creating these charts required countless hours of observation and data collection. They included notes on landmarks, currents, and winds. The charts represented a worldview centered on oceanic pathways, not landmasses. The Zheng He Hanghai II is a window into the 15th century Chinese mariner's mind. Zheng He's fleet was a breathtaking sight, a symbol of Ming Dynasty power. The treasure ships, or baochuan, were colossal, with 9 masts and multiple decks. Alongside them sailed specialized vessels, each with a specific role. The fleet was a self-contained world, operating independently for long periods. The ships featured watertight compartments, a Chinese innovation. This design made them safer and structurally sound. Life aboard was organized, with a clear hierarchy and diverse crew. They carried China's finest products as gifts for foreign rulers. The fleet was a display of sophistication and grandeur, building relationships through diplomacy. In 1405, the Yongle Emperor ordered a great fleet led by Zheng He. The mission established diplomatic ties and assert Ming supremacy. The fleet's first major destination was Calicut, India. Along the way, they stopped at various ports, inviting tribute to the Ming Emperor. The voyage was peaceful but prepared for defense. In the Strait of Malacca, Zheng He crushed a pirate fleet, securing trade routes. In Calicut, they traded Chinese goods for Indian spices and gems. The first voyage established Chinese prestige and secured vital trade routes. It set the stage for more ambitious journeys. Zheng He's fourth journey, around 1413, reached Africa's coast. The fleet sailed to Hormuz, then further west to the Horn of Africa. They visited Mogadishu and documented local customs and flora. In Malindi, Kenya, they exchanged diplomacy and received a giraffe for the emperor. The giraffe symbolized the fleet's incredible reach. This voyage expanded the Chinese world order based on tribute and respect. It returned with a living symbol of a diverse world. The fourth voyage pushed exploration boundaries. It connected China to Africa, showcasing a world larger than imagined. In 1431, the Xuande Emperor ordered a final voyage led by the legendary Admiral Zheng He. This was to be the 7th and last of his grand expeditions, a series of journeys that had already left an indelible mark on the world. This 7th voyage aimed to renew tributary relationships and assert maritime presence. The fleet, consisting of hundreds of ships and tens of thousands of men, was a floating city, a testament to the might and ambition of the Ming Dynasty. The fleet traveled to familiar destinations, with smaller missions to the Persian Gulf and Mecca. These voyages were not just about power. They were about cultural exchange, trade, and diplomacy, weaving a complex tapestry of international relations. Zheng He, a Muslim, may have facilitated the Hajj pilgrimage for fellow Muslims in the crew. His unique position allowed him to bridge cultures and religions, fostering a spirit of unity and cooperation. The journey was a culmination of decades of knowledge and experience. The navigational skills, star charts, and maritime technologies developed over these voyages were unparalleled, showcasing China's advanced understanding of the seas. Tragically, Zheng He died on the return leg of this final voyage and was buried at sea. His death marked the end of an era, a poignant moment in maritime history. The fleet returned in 1433, marking the end of an era. The grand ships, once symbols of China's naval prowess, sailed back to their homeland, their journeys now part of the annals of history. Political shifts led to the fleet's dismantling and record destruction. The new leadership saw no value in these maritime endeavors, and the once proud fleet was left to decay, its achievements nearly forgotten. China's age of exploration ended, leaving the oceans to others. The legacy of Zheng He and his voyages, however, continues to inspire, a reminder of a time when the seas were a bridge between worlds. Zheng He's voyages connected Asia and Africa, fostering peaceful trade. The legacy as a world briefly brought closer together. The voyages brought prestige and new knowledge to China. Halting the expeditions ceded ocean control to European powers. The memory of the fleet lingers in places like Malacca and India. Zheng He is remembered as a peaceful envoy and trade facilitator. His voyages influenced local politics and trade patterns. The story challenges Eurocentric views of exploration. Zheng He's achievements represent a different kind of global interaction. Zheng He's story inspires wonder and debate. We've journeyed from Nanjing to Africa, marveling at the fleet's achievements. The narrative reminds us of past civilizations' capabilities. The stars that guided Zheng He still shine, witnesses to his accomplishments. There's more to explore: political intrigues, individual lives, and cultural impacts. History is a tapestry woven with global threads. Zheng He's legacy is a story of exploration and connection. Join us as we continue to explore the wonders of our world.